want to talk about the game, big Buckeyes fan, fellow Buckeye like yourself, so it's my alma mater, but so pretty ecstatic about tonight. Kind of wipes out a little bit the little sting of the crazy 2020 we've had. So
sure,
but so I just want to throw a shout out to the whole Ohio State team. I live in Columbus, that's where I work after I graduated, and it just see what this kind of the team's been through, the program's been through. It's just been, like Ryan Day says, they may not be as great as, you're a dictionary of college football. I mean, some, great teams like 95, 2015 was an NFL team. But these guys just showed, grit, determination, 42 guys out with COVID over the last two seasons, last two games. I want to get your feel on the historical perspective of this team, where they kind of rank, and maybe they're the most talented. How their heart, and just kind of how you feel this team. Kind of feel good story, how you see it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I love talking college football history, so I appreciate that. And certainly there's going to be a different perspective on it based on what happens in the next game. So you can evaluate games in and of themselves, or you can say, what did it lead to? And so, for example, they win over Alabama in 2014, of course, led to a national championship game appearance, and they closed the deal. They finished it. So I think that there's more luster on that win than there would have been had they lost to Oregon. And we're in a different era now where you can have a monumental game like Clemson did against Ohio State last year, but then they turned around and lost the national championship game to LSU. So I'm sure that took something out of that win historically for Clemson. But this is considering just the narrative of the series record of 4-0, the game last year and how it ended, and the calls that were made, whether you agree with them or not, they were questionable, they were controversial, and the ending with a miscommunication between Justin Fields and Chris Olave, everything that went into that bitter loss for Ohio State last year, and then to tee it up the next year in a season in which the season was threatened to never have happened, and there was a challenge to Ohio State's resume and legitimacy in being in the college football playoff, and to show up against the team that they played last year and lost to in such a bitter way, and to have players like Shaun Wade come back just to make it back to this point, face the same team and dominate in such a way is historic. It's I don't know where to rank it, but it certainly has a special place because of all those narratives. I can't really put it. I can't really measure anything next to it in regards to how all those narratives came together in such a way that allowed Ohio State to gain that level of, I don't even want to say it versus Clemson, the revenge, but more so the retribution of their own in getting back to this place and then closing the deal in this same game is unmatched in some ways in the history of Ohio State football.
Yeah, I think it's a really good take on it. I mean, it's just been kind of an amazing journey to watch these guys, and I mean, and the other thing too, all props to Ryan Day. I mean, Urban Meyer, great coach, legend, wins wherever he goes, master motivator, whatever. But Ryan Day, man, he's just, I don't know how long we're going to have him. I know there's always going to be, he's an NFL guy. He cut his chops in the NFL. There's always going to be interest, and I'm sure eventually he's going to want to take that challenge. But, I mean, as long as we have it, that guy just, I'm sorry, I know what happened last year, that all the calls cost us that game. I mean, I know you talked like Pigskin Pete on your other shows and stuff like that, but, I mean, all respect, I mean, maybe you don't want to say it, but calls cost us that game. And we would, I think we beat them last year, and clearly Ryan Day outcoached Abby Sweeney, very much outcoached Brent Venables. There's Brent Venables today. I mean, I think Ryan Day is going to be one of the greatest coaches in in Ohio State history. Not just breaking a curse of Woody in a punch, and winning the big game, and he would have shredded. He would have destroyed Jim Harbaugh again this year. I just think that he's gonna, he's gonna be one of our greatest coaches. He's just a young guy, and a lot of energy and a lot of passion. I just think that I think he's going to be great. I mean, what's your take on Ryan Day? Do you think he could be an all-time great one for us, or do you think that he's just going to maybe move on before he gets to that point?
Well, if Ryan Day wins this next game, even if he ever coaches another game at Ohio State, is going to have a certain place in Ohio State history. I got a different look at Ryan Day following just minutes after the Clemson game last year, because he had always struck me as, in a football sense, an intellectual, an offensive mind, a guy that was very driven and determined and focused, but certainly mild-mannered and more of a calculated type coach. And then I got to see the passion when Ohio State lost that game last year, and how disappointed and passionate and the fire that burned there to get back. And then he carried it through. It's one thing to be mad after a loss. It's another thing to be able to have the presence and the respect and the connection with an entire football team to get them to buy back into, we have to go on this journey together, and we've got to wait a year to get back there. And we've got to go back to lifting weights and running and studying game film and getting better and studying techniques. And we've got to do all these things to get back. And then the pandemic hit, and all the curveballs that threw at Ohio State and everybody else, to be able to rally a team to be tunnel visioned and focused without being paranoid about it, to have that right balance of, we've got to make it our season's goal, but we've got to meet that goal each and every week before we can get to our end goal, is pretty fascinating and pretty impressive if you know anything about leadership and how difficult it is to get everybody on the same page. Because some people back down from those kind of challenges and just figure, this is too hard. This is too hard to, and they still, to make last year's game a motivating factor, but not have it weigh you down, that you're thinking about it too much and lingering on it and what might have been, and feeling sorry for yourself, but using it as motivation and being able to draw that line is, again, impressive.
Yeah, when he got, I know you remember, he got COVID, and it was like 3 weeks ago or so.
Yeah.
And I think, I obviously I watched the press coverage a little bit more in Columbus than you probably get, nationally. But, he was, outside of maybe, heaven forbid, one of his children or his wife getting COVID, I don't think anything could have been a deeper, or his parents or whatever, could have been a deeper blow. I was saying, wow, I thought he was like a Sean McVay, this real heavy guy, just like real analytical, almost like accounting teacher at Ohio State. But he just real, super intellect guy. But you could just see this kind of like this deep feeling for him. So, I think it's a really good take on on Ryan Day. I agree. I mean, I didn't realize that there was like this, he was more Urban Meyer inside than he was letting on. At least for the first, definitely when he was OC, and and even like the first year when he was kind of a wrecking ball to the season. So, but it was really good to see. I mean, I hope he finished the job. I mean, there's a lot of people think that Alabama's the best team you can pay for. I mean, they're great. I watched them, dismantle Notre Dame. But I think you're right. I think if he finishes the job, I think that would be, one of the better coaching things that Ohio State has seen, maybe since the Civil War, or Urban Meyer's first national championship, or even maybe even going back to Tressel. I mean, who would have thought that Tressel would have beat that Miami team that was whipping the ball over the yard. So I hope they get the job done, and I know you probably got $1,000, so I'll let you get back to it, Mark. You're doing a great job, man. I love the channel, and like I said, hopefully we get that next week.